Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sons and Daughters of Liberty. Tonight's show will be a beacon of hope. A few things I want to touch on. That I think is important to remind people of, you know, sometimes that's what I like doing, sometimes long shows that have really no topics where we just cover a bunch of stuff, much like I do with Ramblings of the Chaotic Mind. But the 4th of July shows I did, they were interesting. Interesting enough that I started talking about a beacon of hope, what United States stands for, just not for the American citizens, but for around the world. We've been that beacon of hope and change around the world. And I think so many people have forgotten that over the years, especially our youth. It's been due to certain events, such as Common Core, other things, the way the colleges seem to be nowadays, how they teach things, the removing of history, the digital book burning of our age, the removing of monuments. I think people forgot why that stuff's so important, why our history is so important. And it's even more important to the people around the world. We hear so much talk of discord, dissent, forcing division, rhetoric of hate. Why do we hear all that? That's because I've stated it before, our country is that beacon of hope, the beacon of hope for freedom, liberty, a chance to better yourself. The American dream, all these things other countries see. We've been that guiding light to all these countries. Since the shot heard around the world, since our founding fathers wrote in pen the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, their vision for this great nation to be that beacon against oppression, dictatorship, the very things that other countries and dictators fear the most is the people being free, being able to have free speech, right to bear arms, right to believe and practice whatever religion you want, the right to be equal. These things became a living beacon of hope for the rest of the world around us. They seen it, they watched this nation grow and become what it is today. Yes, we have some bad things going on here, but we're still that beacon of hope. That's what they're trying to crush. That's why they're pushing so much division, so much trying to pit us against each other. They want to destroy that very beacon of hope, that last beacon of hope. Because other countries see this, people see it, they know what America stands for. That's why people try to make their countries better, try to remove dictators. We all talk about the causes and things worth fighting for. Our soldiers know this better than any of us because they take the oath. They know and understand the value of freedom. They know when they're abroad what they see and hear from other people. Those of us now that live in this internet age where everything's digital, everything's at our fingertips. We've got friends around the world. We hear the stories. We hear them talking about things. All this push for censorship and control, it's all meant to destroy that last bastion of hope. I know I said tonight was going to be part 3 of the broken systems, dealing with the education system. It will be the next video I do, but this seems to be more important to me right now. Like I said, I go off field, and a beacon of hope's been in my mind ever since I had said it and talked about it, and I thought it needed a individual video just for this to make people understand what and why things are happening today. So many people have been caught up in all these labels that have been dividing us for all so long. We have mainstream media, social platforms, and other countries, even our own politicians, doing everything they can to destroy everything that makes this country great and trying to pit us against each other. Because why? They fear that very notion of what this country represents to the world, just not our country. And they can't have that because what they fear most is the free people. What they fear most is what's written, the very core foundations of our country, what is written in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And they've been planning, setting things in motion for decades to destroy that. Using every dirty trick in the book here of late. You know, I've watched so many good channels here on YouTube just disappear because of censorship. For no reason. I mean, Dabu 777's channel was taken down for a video that did not violate any TOSs. Any TOS. Google's or YouTube's. Never had a community, didn't have no guideline strikes, community strikes. Just up and gone. But yet, he hasn't been the only one. Hundreds, pushing thousands of people here on YouTube have had the same experience. Happens on Facebook, Twitter, happened on Gab. You know, why? Because the power of the internet, the power that we each have. Each of us here in the United States represents a piece of that beacon of hope. When we interact with people, when we talk about the things that we value mean to us, when we start talking about unity and we start calling out the wrongs, once more, we are dealing with people that don't value those things. People say, well, America's hated around the world. No, America's only hated by those in power, those that wish to oppress, enslave, take people's freedoms and liberties away from them, rule with an iron fist. Those are the only ones that hate us. And they use that as a tool to help feed the fire of division and diversity. You know, I guess it took us a little bit for it to realize what certain words have been said about certain things, how, we're unsafe for the community or influencing. Sometimes we don't keep it simple enough, but yet at the same time, sometimes we don't look at the bigger picture. Much like the censorship that's going on, the targeting of individuals. Even that's been blurred to say it's only conservatives getting targeted, but yet I know people that aren't conservatives that's been targeted. I know people of different faiths that have been targeted. I know people in the gaming community that's been targeted. All because they choose to use their voice and talk about things, share things that goes against the status quo, share things that could bring hope to others. Sometimes I think we get caught up in the moment. We get some things wrong. We think we see what we thought was the picture. until something comes along to show us deeper inside that picture and reveals itself. The fact is, this has been going on since the founding of this country, since nations realized what a beacon of hope our country became, what Americans became. I mean, we can go clear down to a few years ago what the Queen said. The American spirit experiment has come to its end. You know, clear from the day when that shot was heard around the world, the British are coming, the British are coming. That was the shot of hope rekindled. That was the fire of freedom and liberty to break away from the oppression and slavery and control. We all seem to have lost our way on that. Some of it because of certain placed conspiracy theorists, you know, once more adhering to labels, talking about our founding fathers like they were Masons and such, so they were evil. When in truth, look what they created. They created a beacon of hope for the world, just not our country, the world. They knew it even then. What they were creating would ring for centuries and be a beacon of hope to the whole world. Doesn't sound too evil to me. It sounds like a message of unity, peace, freedom, liberty. No, many people disagree on that. They'll say, well, they're Masons, they were satanic, they were whatever other label they've been taught to hate, programmed to hate. People fear that which they do not know. They fear the unknown. In most cases, they see the bad apples. You never see the good ones, especially in organizations and churches and temples and other things. You only see those bad apples, and you take those bad apples and you use that to destroy that label, only focusing on the bad apples, therefore labeling the rest in that group a bad apple, thus creating more division, more diversity, stripping away that beacon of hope, whether you realize you're doing it or not. You know, I see it every day on every platform I'm on. When somebody has a different view, opinion, or from a different belief system, oh, that person shouldn't be on here. But yet you claim to believe in the Constitution. I see you retweeting when somebody gets shadow banned or banned. Don't you see the rhetoric there? Or hypocrisy in that? Because we're talking about our Constitution. We're talking about the freedom of speech, freedom of equality. They have every right to be on a free speech platform that you have. Things have to change. Our mindset has to change. We have to break away from that propaganda, psychological manipulation that they've used against us for so long that keeps further dividing us. We're meant to be beacons of hope for the world, not destroyers of it. When we take things like that and start talking like that, using that hypocrisy, we become the destroyers of that hope. Because we're saying our Constitution doesn't apply to another person because of their belief or opinion, or their religious belief or preference, or their sexuality or gender. And they know all this. They know they can use those things to divide us. And yes, there's bigger pictures in some of that as well. You know, the transgender movement. Why? Why the demasculinity of males, even females? Why? Because they don't want strong men, strong women. They want somebody they can easily bully and push over. Soft targets. So they'll create that. And by doing so, find yet another way to pit us against each other. When we forget the very principle or founding of this nation, this great country, this beacon of hope, we forget that we're all brothers and sisters. You know, I'm not blind to the fact that my days are numbered on here. I know one day I'm going to say something that's going to get this channel taken down. And I've made contingencies and backups for that. The worst thing that could ever happen is for them to take this channel down, because then I'll go back to what I'm really good at: writing. Putting my words in digital format, much like our forefathers did, using the printing press. Now we have a digital press. Funny, we speak of press. Most people think when you hear press now, they think of news, information. That's what a press was for, to transmit information. Now we have digital airwaves, Ethernets, to where our range and reach is vast, to where we can continue to spread that message of a beacon of hope to the world. Just not our own country, but to everyone. How many people realize that concept? We are the role models of freedom, liberty, equality, justice. Yes, we have plenty of broken systems, as you've seen me point out in the series I'm working on. They were designed to be broken, designed to bring down that beacon of hope. You know, we have politicians and congressmen that sold our own country out to other countries. That we have still loyalists of the crown in our government. We have loyalists of the UN in our government, in our state levels. We've seen what the UN policies are. We've seen what the EU policies are. They're all about stripping what America is. They're all about stripping away and destroying that beacon of hope. I don't think I fully ever understood why they called it the shot heard around the world. And back then we were taught all the history of the Revolutionary War, the founding of this country. But that's what that shot heard around the world was. That's what the rise of America was. It became a beacon of hope for the world and has been ever since. And ever since then, it has been under attack. We know these guys don't play the short game. They play the long game, knowing that systems have to be put into place. Confusion and division has to occur. You have to weaken it from the inside. And that inside is us, the citizens, we, the people, the Americans, the very thing the Constitution was written for. Sadly and oddly enough, looks like nobody's tuning in to watch this video. Well, I think I know why. It's been the game past couple weeks I think YouTube wants to play. That's fine. Which is sad because we're talking about people that wouldn't be in power, wouldn't have these great corporations such as YouTube, guys. YouTube's a great site. They've lost their way. They've lost what YouTube means, has become. They don't realize the beauty of what they created. A place where you can come learn any trade skill, have good quality conversations with people, interact with people. And the sad part it's, it's right here in America is where the company is. It's where it was founded. But yet they can't honor and respect our Constitution. They rather respect another country's laws, which those laws violate the very concept of what this country stands for. So they become a guilty party in trying to destroy this beacon of hope for around the world. You guys seen what happened this week, some of you? You've seen how my stream got attacked. Which was odd because I don't get views like that. And it wasn't odd, I knew what happened. But that's okay. You see, a little something about myself. I'm that one guy. I don't care how many times you beat me down. I'm going to get back up, and eventually, I'm going to be the one that has the last laugh. I don't stay down. Don't let nobody keep me down. I learn from each and every mistake, failure, success. I value what this country stands for. I'm not going to use stood for because it still stands for that. It's still a beacon of hope to around the world. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be so divided. We wouldn't still have these freedoms. We wouldn't see other countries and other people wanting to come here to better themselves, better their families. So it still stands as that beacon of hope. We need to continue to push for unity. That doesn't mean relax and don't think something might not come about. We should always be prepared for that. But at the same time, we need to be careful with our words, careful how we do things. Because right now we need unity more than ever. Some people think we have the numbers. I don't see it. And I'm in and out of so many communities, just not this community here, and many of which they say the same, from local militias to local communities that are from the prepping side to religious communities. They don't see we have the numbers. They see the infighting and division. We need unity. Because with that unity and with our voices, we'll never ever have to pick up a weapon. But if we keep going down the road we're going, it's going to be a very, very long road. Because then our very sovereignty will be in jeopardy. That's what I don't think so many people don't get. They can't see it. So many people have bought into what Q is saying. Yet another distraction, a psyop that's meant to divide us. Q is not a beacon of hope. He's the destroyer of hope. He's pushing the same propaganda that I've seen used. And it's not even propaganda, it's psychological warfare that I've seen used throughout this history, hiding within the shadows. But yet, so many people think he's the savior, the knight in white shining armor. He, she, nobody knows what he is. I tell you what, he ain't none of those things. Because those things don't hide in the shadows. And yes, I can see where you're going to go with it. But if he or she was out in the open, he wouldn't be around. How many of us are out in the open, still standing here today? But yeah, I get it. You're hooked on the numbers. Oh, you're no threat. Nobody hears you. You only got 52 subscribers. You barely break 17 views. Hmm. And if you believe that, you're quite wrong. And it tells me you have not watched any of my videos. Because I've got videos that show you some of my reach when I want to have reach. I've shown you how powerful every platform and tool is out there. And you know what? You don't see me on 4chan or 8chan. Because I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Especially right now when I'm talking about a beacon of hope. When I'm talking about how great America still is. When I'm talking about the very thing that goes against the status quo. The very things that's going to make you question why you're dividing yourself and pitting yourselves against each other. Instead of unifying. Our most patriotic symbol is our stars and stripes. The bald eagle. Even the Confederate flag, the rebel flag. Then for some of us, we understand what the Jolly Rogers even stands for, because some of us, we understand we're all privateers. More so in this digital age. You see, they learned a valuable lesson from the Civil War. They learned how to make it better, how to really pit people against each other so it's just not states versus states, it's neighbors versus neighbors, friends, family versus family. Oh yeah, you guys haven't seen the bigger picture yet to fully understand it. Some of you think you're safe in the community that you're in, but yet your very community has people that might not like you, doesn't like what you stand for, what you believe. We're divided by labels. We have forgotten to be the beacons of hope. And you know what? That's a scary place because the world's starting to see that. They see the division here. We cannot continue down this road divided. Because it's just not our sovereignty. It's many other countries' sovereignty. All the people around the world that look to us as that beacon of hope. Oh, how we forget those things. Oh, how they've tried hard, so hard to remove those things from our history. To tarnish that beacon of hope, to slowly erode it and destroy it. Oh, how they're trying to stop us from interacting with other people. Because when we do, we start learning things. We start learning that, hey, we've been fed a lot of crap. And I can see why. Do they want do they want the American people to know that we've worked with the Russians military hand in hand with them? No, because that would undermine the Russian collusion. But yet they won't even admit that they've been doing it this whole time. And when I say them, I don't mean the Russians. I mean our very own congressmen, our very own DNC, RNC, every news network. They've been influencing elections for centuries. Corporations influencing the very elections by being lobbyists, donors, donating millions, uncontrolled. But yet the everyday citizen can't donate that. fact, there's a limit on how much the everyday citizen can donate to a campaign. You know, people have to that realize the significance of the hope that our country has given to the rest of the world, that has given to every generation of Americans, even to the future Americans that'll come here legally and go through the process and become citizens. That's what that beacon of hope always represented, making this country better, making the world better. But here we are, fighting amongst ourselves, pitting against each other, pitting ourselves against each other. We're not unifying, we're dividing. We're playing right into the hands that have set this in motion. And yes, I know so many of you will sit there and argue with me until we're all blue in the face about it. But guess what? I'm not going to argue about it. I'm just going to walk away. It's not worth the energy, the effort. One day you'll see. You'll understand. You know, we'll reach those that we can reach. We'll continue to be the beacon of hope for everyone, every American citizen, all of our brothers and sisters. We'll continue to be that beacon of hope for the rest of the world. Look at our history. Look how rich our history here in America is. And that's including the good and bad. There's lessons there. Learn them while you still can. Because I tell you what, those that are trying to destroy that beacon of hope have learned from their mistakes. And they've improved upon that. If you don't believe me, look at our country today. Look at the division. Look at the corruption in our systems. Look at all the broken systems that they never fix, but yet campaign to promise that they'll fix and never do. Ask me, do they believe in what our founders believed? Do they believe this country is a beacon of hope? Are they the very ones trying to destroy it? I think many of you know the answer to that. And that's something even bigger yet, because They fear that they fear that hope because that hope becomes a symbol, a powerful symbol. It erodes the concept of illusionary control. It erodes that concept of oppression. There's some people out there in this world that now believe the UN is that beacon. But yet, look at their laws, the oppression, the stripping away of people from their arms, the stripping away of freedom of speech, the stripping away of equality. All they represent is the bonds of slavery, the very same thing that our forefathers fought against, the very same thing that America is against, the very thing that makes our country that beacon of hope to so many, and is why it's so hated. They've been adding fuel to this fire since the founding of this nation, trying to undermine it every step of the way, every chance they get. But yet here we stand, still shining, even though how bad it's gotten, how much division. There's still people out there doing the right thing, still trying to unite people, still trying to spread the message of truth, trying to bring about change, trying to make this country greater than what it was. I really hate that when it happens. Even worse with coffee when it goes down the wrong pipe. You know, people want change. I get that. People want the corruption gone. I really get that. We have to be careful how we do those things. We've seen how it turns out in just recent history. We've seen what happened to Venezuela. We've seen what's happened in Brazil and other countries that's tried to bring about change, that's tried to follow in the footsteps of our founding fathers, following the footsteps of the beacon of hope that America has become to the world. There's lessons to be learned even there, so we don't repeat those mistakes. So we're prepared for stuff like that when it comes about. Now you can start to see why it's so important to control the narrative, control what's being posted on platforms, what's being shown on TV. why they've created new labels, why they want to put certain people on a list for being influencers. Why do you fear somebody influencing something? You know what that tells me? When you've gotten that fearful, that tells me you're scared. You're scared of the real truth coming out. You're scared that people are going to realize they are a beacon of hope, that America's been that beacon of hope, that bastion of hope. You fear that they're going to realize that and undo the division that you've caused. Well, guess what? We might be past the point of no return, but so are you. People are starting to realize that every day. I see more and more people waking up to the truth, waking up to the lies that you have fed to them. Oh yeah, I still see hope. We still have founding families that are no longer in the political system, that are starting to stir, starting to use their voices once more. The ones that's been lost to history because they stepped away, became the silent watchers of this country. I've seen groups put their differences aside, realize that they've been manipulated to be at each other's throat. So yes, we have reached that point where once more where change is happening, but it's happening both ways. The more we realize, the more they push back. That's what happens when you back and corner an animal or someone. When they got their backs to the wall, they lash out with everything conceivable. And we're seeing that. We're seeing politicians come flying off the handle, saying things that they wouldn't normally say. We see them trying to incite unrest. Stop falling for the rhetoric. Remember what our country stands for. Remember that we're a beacon of hope to the world. And if people are trying to incite you to violence, they're not on your side. They don't believe in that beacon of hope. They're trying to destroy it. They are becoming the harbingers that have been set forth to destroy everything that this country stands for, including destroying that beacon of hope for the rest of the world. And they're not going to stop till they succeed. And we're not going to stop till we succeed in keeping this great country a beacon of hope for the whole world, for our fellow brothers and sisters around the world, for our fellow Americans that have lost their way through the psychological warfare, lies, manipulations, indoctrinations. Each and every one of us is a beacon of hope to our fellow brothers and sisters. Each and every one of us have a very powerful voice. You need to learn to use it once more. Find the skills you're good at, whether it's speaking on video, doing videos, writing blogs. Spread the message of unity and hope. We all have our different skill sets, what things we're good at. And we all need others that have those skill sets that we don't have. We can never do that when we're divided or pitted against each other. We can't do that when we let our egos run the show. We can't do that being solitary hermits. Because that's not unity. And some people would say that's just hiding. It's time that many of you come down off your mountains. Come out of the shadows. Start becoming once more that beacon of hope, the true patriots. Using your voice, using your skills to spread the message of hope, to spread the message that America is not going nowhere. That we're never going to allow that beacon of hope to be diminished, snuffed out. Right now, our message is unity and hope. We have all these platforms to spread that message on. Now do you start see? Now's that picture coming clear to you? Why they want the censorship? Why they want to start labeling people? Why they want to continue to divide us, pit us against each other? Why they keep pushing for more and more unrest? I haven't been joking this week when I tell you how that you have so much power right in front of you. You just got to use it, whether it be your voice, your fingertips on the keyboard, or out in your community being a pillar of the community. Summer backyard barbecues, inviting friends and family and neighbors over. That's spreading unity, whether it's just through idle conversation. Coming together here on YouTube or other platforms, having conversations, interacting with each other. No one questions why so much of our content and videos we do are blocked by so many countries. It's because we're a beacon of hope. It's because we're talking about freedoms, liberties, equality, the very things that they don't want their people to have. That's what it's all boiled down to. Nobody questions why these very platforms that are based here in the United States, created here in the United States, won't even honor our constitutional rights, which is the law of the land, along with the Bill of Rights. But they'll listen to another country, or as Mark Zuckerberg says, I'm following what the UN and EU has put out, their laws. Really? Then go live there. Take your corporation with you. But yet, sadly, some people are ready for action when this is not a time for action. It's time to be prepared, yes, but it's time for unity, sowing the seeds of unity, not further dividing, not playing into the rhetoric game that some of these politicians are calling for. That's exactly what they want you to do. You're By doing so, you become their implement, their tool. You've given your freedom away when you react. Some might say, but I live in this city. There is no hope. There's a there's always hope. You know, some of these cities, I've seen what some of the inner city gangs have done inside their communities. Might not agree with their tactics on a lot of this stuff, but I've seen how they've tried to give back to their communities, help build their communities up, because they realize they're put in a situation where if they don't, nobody else will. Might not agree with the tactics, but yet there's still hope. We see out in California, the police have stood up to the governors and the mayors, saying we're going to adhere to the federal agents, the federal laws. That's what is that beacon of hope. They believe in the oath they took. They're not going to break a federal law. They believe in the law. But yet, we'll make examples out of the bad apples and blame every single one of them. We got to stop that. We got to blame the bad apple, not the rest of the group. But that starts also with them singling out that bad apple and demanding justice, not protecting. You have to become a beacon of hope within your own pillars of community, your own positions. You have to lead and live by example. That's what our forefathers always wanted from us, to live and lead by example, to become the beacon of hope. that makes this country so great. So I must ask, are you going to be the beacon of hope or the destroyer of hope? No, if you become the destroyer of hope, you're not just destroying that hope for for the United States, but for the whole world. The millions and millions of people in the world that look to our great nation as a hope, as a beacon of what they can have and achieve in their own countries, what they want in their own countries. That's how powerful this country has been to the rest of the world as a beacon of hope. So ask yourselves, are you going to be the beacon of hope, or are you going to continue to be the dividers and destroyers of hope? You're looking for that line? That is the line. Well, I guess my screen sharing is done. We all have choices to make. We all have decisions to make. With those choices and decisions, there's consequences, whether good or bad. But we have to choose and decide, are we going to continue to be the beacon of hope? Just not for our fellow brothers sisters here, but for our fellow brothers sisters around the world. Or are we going to choose to be the destroyers of that? That's what division will keep bringing us. It'll keep further eroding that hope, destroying it. Time for division is over. It's time for unity. It's time we put all of our differences aside, drop the labels, and recognize each other as fellow brothers and sisters, fellow Americans, as well as fellow human beings of this world. Each and every one of us represents that beacon of hope. Each and every one of us makes up that symbol of hope. That's what our founders have founded. That's what the Constitution embodies and the Bill of Rights embodies. That's what every American citizen embodies and lights that torch of hope, that beacon of hope for the rest of the world. Think about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, but it's something I felt that really needed to be discussed and talked about. Remind people of, or remind fellow Americans that we are the beacon of hope for so many. We can no longer be divided. We have to be united. United we stand. The more united we are, the brighter that beacon of hope is to everyone. You guys, I hope you enjoyed. You have a safe weekend. Monday, I will get back on the Broken System series. Ask yourself this in closing. What does a beacon of hope mean to you? Are you a beacon of hope or a divider of hope? That's something only each of you can answer. You guys all have a good evening.